Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Regular Beer Reviews, where regular doesn't refer to the beers being reviewed, but to the reviewer myself. I'm Jesse, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing a beer that I've never had before. This is Old Thumper, and it's an ESB. It says on the front Ringwood Brewery, but it says on the side here, brewed by Shipyard Brewing Company, Portland, Maine. And I do absolutely love Shipyard. If I've mentioned that in my reviews, I drink their beers all the time. I'm a huge fan of Shipyard. And I looked into it, and Old Thumper, the Ringwood Brewery is actually a brewery out of England. And Old Thumper is an ESB that they do. It's a beer they're very famous for. And Shipyard actually has a license to brew their beer. Here it's their license to brew it, so they use their recipe and everything, and they brew their beer, and they do it under the Ringwood Brewery's name, but it's actually brewed at and by Shipyard. So anyway, I'm excited to try this beer. I haven't had a whole lot of ESBs. I've had a few, but I'm excited to try this one. I'm not crazy about the style, but it's a good style. But yeah, anyway, let's look at the numbers on this. Beer Advocate gives it an 82, which is good, and that's with 582 ratings. Rate Beer gives it a 58 overall, with a 78 for the style. The Bros give it an 81, which is good. So those are pretty moderate numbers. ABV is 5.6%. It has a year-round availability. The style, as I said, is an extra special or a strong bitter. I'm not sure what the IBUs are. I didn't see that anywhere. And the description on Rate Beer just mentioned what I had already looked up previously, that it is licensed by Shipyard. Shipyard is licensed to brew this beer for Ringwood Brewery. Yeah, so with that said, let's get it poured. I'm just going to use they recommended in English, on Rate Beer, it recommended an English pint glass. I'm just going to use a tumbler. I do like bitters. When I first started drinking beer, I remember I hadn't really tried a lot of stuff, but I had heard about different styles, and I heard about bitters and stuff. And I remember having my first IPA, and I don't think I'd had a bitter at that point. I had an IPA, and I thought, Jesus Christ, if this is that bitter, I don't imagine how bitter a bitter is, but actually they're not really all that bitter at all. They're just that's the name. But yeah, anyway, let's get an appearance on this. It is a nice golden color, very, very light amber, kind of a ruby red tinges around the edges there, hints of kind of a golden copper color. A lot of carbonation streaming up, a ton. I mean, there is a bunch streaming up there. You can't really see it. Condensation, the combination of the condensation on the glass and my crappy camera. But you can't really, there's a lot of carbonation streaming up there, though. The head, though, was maybe a quarter finger when I poured it. Very frothy. Looked to be maybe slightly off-white, but it is completely gone now. There is just a frothy ring. Yeah, let's go on ahead and get a nose on this. Sweet, very sweet caramel malts. Caramel malts, a little toffee. Almost smells like I'm picking up a little bit of booziness. A little bit of alcohol it almost smells like, which is weird. It's only 5.6%. That's right around where Budweiser's at. Definitely it smells like I'm almost picking up a little bit of alcohol. But caramel malts, a little bit of toffee, very sweet. Some grassiness, kind of floralness, I'm not sure. Yeah, it smells like that would be contributed. It smells like I can smell the hops a little bit in the background. I'm not sure what kind of hops they use, but it smells like I'm definitely picking up on a little bit of grassiness, a little bit of floralness. It doesn't smell like it's bitter or anything. I can just pick up a little bit of that. There's almost like an oakiness or something in there too. Again, a little bit of booziness. It smells like scotch to me. That's what it smells like. Just that slightest little bit. Mostly I'm smelling those malts. Sweet malts, caramel, a little bit of toffee. but the little bit of booziness I'm picking up, it has a really scotchy quality, like very oaky, very aged, kind of grainy, and then there's that little bit of grassy floralness in the background. Maybe a little bit of like yeastiness in there too, just a hint. But yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this one. Very carbonated, a little slightly watery on the mouthfeel. Very, very carbonated. Those sweet malts. It's it's definitely good. It's enjoyable, but it is sweet, man. Again, caramel, a little bit of toffee on the flavor, and that's really what dominates the flavor. A little bit of bitterness in the background I'd contribute to the hops. It's very earthy on the flavor as far as the hops at the back of the palate goes. It's very earthy, like just really earthy kind of. I don't want to say dirt because that's not because that makes it sound bad. If you say that, but it's not bad at all. It's very enjoyable, and it's a characteristic that sometimes hops hops have, and that's kind of what it's from. It's very earthy, like when you eat a radish or something. That kind of that flavor that it leaves in your mouth. A radish or a beet or another type of tuber that grows in the ground, it kind of leaves that flavor. Again, I don't want to say dirt because that sounds negative. That sounds off-putting. And to some people who don't like radishes or beets or things like that, because of that flavor, I guess it would be. But it doesn't taste like a radish or a beet. But that flavor, there's like hints of that in the background, and that's contributed from the hops, I believe. And it's floral on top of that. It's floral. Not really citrusy at all. Maybe I want to say there's a little bit of pininess there with it. That kind of it's kind of meshed in there, but it's mainly like floral and really earthy at the back, and then at the front it's just these really super sweet caramel and toffee malts. Almost reminds me of butterscotch or something, like a toffee or a butterscotch. And again, I'm picking up that scotchiness in the smell. I'm not tasting, like I can smell a little bit of booziness like alcohol, and I'm not tasting any alcohol in the flavor, but that those sweet kind of caramel malts, it reminds me of scotch. It really does. Um, I mean, I know this beer. I mean, I've had other beers that actually taste like they taste like Scotch. They're aged in like Scotch barrels and stuff, and like Old Chub Scotch Ale. That tastes like Scotch. This, it's not like they were going for Scotch in the flavor. It's not like they went. It's a beer made to taste like Scotch, but it's just their qualities of this beer, their characteristics of the flavor that really remind me of Scotch. Um, the caramel malts. Again, there's like kind of there's a graininess in the flavor that's it's like an oakiness. It's mainly in the smell, the oaky kind of woody graininess, but in the flavor it's a little bit there, but it's mainly those caramel malts. It is a little sweeter than um, it's a the sweetness kind of throws the flavor the off balance. But again, this really reminds me. It tastes a lot like Scotch. Um, I have to say that earthy hoppiness at the end, it does leave a nice bitterness in your mouth that does linger for a moment, and that balances well with the sweetness of the malts at the front. And I do like that graininess in the middle there. It's like right after the malts, right before the hops. It adds good flavor. I think this is a pretty damn good beer. I love Scotch, and again, I know that's not at all what they were going for, and I know there are beers that do go for that flavor, and that's not what they were going for here. But it does taste like Scotch. It definitely has qualities of Scotch. Um, the alcohol, again, I'm still smelling a little bit of booziness in the smell, and the little bit of alcohol that I'm picking up on in the smell, it definitely makes it smell like Scotch or something. It doesn't have that. Again, it doesn't really. I can't taste the alcohol, but the way the caramel malts and that kind of oakiness. I mean, they really do. It reminds me of Scotch. I love this beer. I do love Scotch, and so this beer is very, very nice. It's mellow. It's it's refreshing. Sessionability, again, 5.6%. It's right about where a Budweiser would be. Drinkability, for me, is very high. I can't say everybody would like this beer, but I really like this beer. I mean, I could toss back quite a few of these. I'm going to say, if you see Old Thumper, pick it up. This is a good beer, man. I really, really like this beer. I'm going to give Old Thumper an 8 out of 10. And I say, if you see it, pick it up. I'd love to try the English version, the one that's actually brewed at Ringwood. I would really like to try that. I love Shipyard, and I want to say they've done a good job because I like this, but I don't know how the English version is. It might be 10 times better, and Shipyard's not doing them service. So, or what's the saying? Doing a disservice to them. So, but Shipyard always does good stuff, as far as I know, as far as everything I've ever had. And to me, this is no exception to that. This is a really good beer. It's different, and I really, really love the flavors. So once again, if you see Old Thumper, Ringwood Brewery Old Thumper from Shipyard Brewing Company, or if you see the original, pick it up. This is a really good beer. Thank you for watching, and keep watching again in the future for more reviews. Prost. Prost.